How do we do? Hey guys, welcome back to the Hit Up podcast. We have another interview for you guys today. Today we have Leighton Spellman. How are you doing, Leighton?
Yeah, good. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
No, I really appreciate it. It's really good to have different perspectives. We've had a few players, we've had a few coaches, we've had a bit of everything, commentators. So it's good, Connor, to have another new perspective of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. We just love the game and we want to hear different perspectives on it every time we interview. So this will be a good one for sure. So What we like at the start of every podcast is we like to do a thing called the set of six. So I'm going to ask you 6 quick fire questions and you have to answer with what comes off the top of your head.
Sweet, bro. Ready?
You ready?
Let's go.
Favorite fast food?
Asian.
Favorite NRL team?
Warriors.
Favorite sport other than rugby league?
Basketball.
Biggest improvers next year in the NRL?
Warriors.
Biggest fall off next year?
Biggest what, sorry?
Fall off, like drop down the ladder.
Let's say let's go Eels.
And who is the best signing for next year?
I like Burden for the Doggies.
That's a good pick.
Yeah. I was hoping you'd say Sean Johnson. Just the way he was going, I thought that was the way it was going to happen.
Oh, nah, man. Just switch it up a bit. Hopefully it is Johnson, though. Hopefully I'm wrong.
Yeah. Just so you guys know that our other host, Liam's away sick today, so he won't be with us. But we'll get to the follow-up question from Matty Q141. He was the guy that actually got us in touch with Leighton, so shout out to him. He asked, in a diverse community like Frankston, where you're keeping kids out of trouble and giving them something to look forward to, what do you hope to achieve for them in the future?
Oh, bro, that's pretty much a big reason of why I got into what I'm doing out here in Frankston. You know, sort of as you can see, my hat is my junior footy club, Mount Albert Lions, which is it's a big rugby league community back in Auckland, back in New Zealand, and it gave us that same vehicle. You know, we were like, it was either be out on the streets and get in trouble, or we had sport, and we had 2 very strong rugby league clubs. So when I came here, same, I still had my young fella, and you'd heard a lot of stories about Frankston, and you know, like you go anywhere in the world, there's pockets of each sort of community where, you know, kids can get led astray very easily, and I always found sport was a vehicle where it could give you a discipline, it could teach you just things about life in general. So for me, that's what I'm very passionate about. And out here, that's why I sort of wanted to start it too, because as Maddie mentioned, it's not very, the demographic out here, we haven't got all of these big island boys and Kiwi kids. They're sort of all on the other side of the city, and there's a lot of pathways for them out there. There's a few more out that way. And just since I've been here about 8 years now, and I pretty much coached off the bat, and just seeing the development of a lot of these kids, though, like honestly, some of these kids that have come from footy, from AFL, mate, they are like fearless, you know, and you can't coach that. And again, they all come from sort of backgrounds where sometimes some of them don't have their fathers around, and yeah, a lot of them, the mothers sort of like kept coming to me and asking, "Oh, are you doing anything after the season?" And I was like, "Nah, you know, had enough." But really, we're just hoping to achieve, just to give them an opportunity, you know, and open up, whether it's a door or, you know, give them some sort of pathway where they can, hopefully it can sort of lead on to something else for them. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So we've talked a bit about, before the podcast, your journey to Australia from New Zealand. Do you want to tell the fans a little bit about your journey from New Zealand to Oz?
Yeah, bro. Yeah. So we came here in 2014, me, my wife, and my younger son. My older son, he just moved over this year, so he was at Mount Albert Grammar. So he just finished at Mount Albert Grammar last year, and then he moved over the start of this year. For us, the reason coming over was, you know, again, I was still playing footy back home before we moved here, and getting myself into a bit of trouble, as in, man, you know, I'll still go with the boys after the game, and you know, my wife probably sort of had enough, and that wasn't the main reason, but yeah, it was just the change in life. So for me, it was a real big step. to get away from especially my parents and all my friends and everything I'd known. You know, I never really sort of wanted to move overseas, but yeah, it's just sort of which way the wind blew us, and now I'm sort of on the path that I'm on at the moment. It's sort of sometimes, you know, things happen for a reason, and it's definitely been a blessing, yeah, for us to be over here. So
Yeah, 100%. So we've talked to a few guys that have actually gone like to another country or something. They've always said the first few weeks are really hard. Was it hard for you when you first got there, like adjusting, transitioning to a new country, or was it smooth sailing?
yeah, bro, yeah, for sure. Especially like, I guess it was probably the first few months because my old lady was a bit crook too when we'd moved, you know, and that was probably the hardest thing, was just sort of leaving my parents and my older son. But he just started high school. So he asked if he could finish school, and it was a no-brainer. You know, I come from a big tight-knit family, Māori Samoan family. So a lot of my family all played, all connected to rugby league. My dad was like quite a big figure in our neighborhood with coaching and stuff like that. And so, yeah, the hardest part I think would have been just sort of getting over here and just sort of starting out again. Like, felt like we were sort of starting again. But Melbourne, I chose because the weather's just like home. Like, that made a massive difference, definitely compared to say Sydney and Queensland. Yeah, so the weather-wise it wasn't, but just family, you know, we all come from tight-knit families back home, and that environment and culture, and that was sort of a shock. But in saying that, that's where growth sort of came for myself, was getting out of that comfort zone, you know, was a massive thing. And yeah, definitely helped me grow a lot. So yeah.
Absolutely. Sounds like a big step. So just going back to the following question, you were talking about how you used to play junior rugby league. Did you play any other sports during that time period?
Yeah, bro. So, man, I played a lot of pretty much everything, you know, like when I was young, played a lot of different sports. We played a lot of tag footy touch. So tag was a big part of my my junior life too. Like, we had a team from school. A few of the boys all went on to the NRL. A lot of the guys I grew up with, you know, so we grew up playing a lot of tag footy in summer since I was at school. But other than that, just rugby league, man. Played a bit of union at school, nothing too much. Sort of, yeah, just rugby league was always my game, street ball. But nah, other than that, just mainly tag, touch footy, and league.
Yeah. What position did you play? Just out of curiosity.
Played hooker halves.
Yeah.
Mostly, yeah, hooker, and played in the halves.
That's what they say. They say the good coaches come as like a hooker or a halves, you know, like that's what they say. The smart players of the game, but yeah.
True, bro. The great coaches, nah. Yeah, I think just probably, I reckon it depends. I reckon, like, sometimes the best players don't even become, like, when they say that, you know, the best players don't make the best coaches. And I can see why, because it does take a certain, I feel like a certain gift to understand like each player and to be able to explain things and not get frustrated. And definitely with kids, man, is having patience. Yeah, no, like, man, I didn't realize how, because I used to think, oh, why don't more people do this? But a lot of people are like mates, and even my wife, she's like, so she played for Harbour. She was a rep rugby player and touch player. She played for NZ and Victoria, so in Australia. So, but when it comes to kids, man, it's like she's in a different world, you know. Whereas for me, it sort of comes quite naturally. I don't know where it comes from, but yeah, I just love it because I get them at a stage where, you know, they're still quite raw. And if you watch kids do things like, especially things like maybe squatting or running technique, because they haven't been through the wars, like a lot of us when we get a bit older, their bodies are still quite just really pure, you know, so they're flexible, you can teach them right from a young age.
Yeah, 100%.
So, yeah.
So going into your coaching, like, sort of career, we'll say, what inspired you to become a coach in the first place?
Man, I'd say definitely my biggest one would be my dad. He coached. He had a few boys that went on to the NRL that come under him from around our neighborhood. But the thing was with my dad, we had different styles again. He was just a very quiet, you know, Samoan man, but he just knew how to get the best out of everyone. You know, sometimes I'd cross my fingers that he wasn't coming to my game because he coached my brother's team. just because I knew the way he, I guess, come across, he could explain things in a way where it'll definitely get the best out of people. So he would have been, definitely my biggest influence. Coaches I had at Mount Albert as well, like my junior coach, Tony Davis, who's passed away now. He was like a second father to us. Again, that was the difference. Was he was a mentor first before like really about X's and O's. It was about just being there for us, and we all respected him for that sense. And then I was lucky enough to have guys like John Ackland and that at Mount Albert as well. To take us when we were young, when we went up there, and sort of just guide us through as well along the way. So
yeah, absolutely. So just going back to the topic before, sorry, you were talking about players becoming coaches. What do you think of Billy Slater being the Queensland coach next year? Do you reckon that's a good move for them?
Yeah, I like it, bro. I like it. I'm a Queensland supporter.
Is it?
You?
Yeah.
Gotta say, you better be scared if you're New South Wales, man. But bro, I like it for the fact that, bro, he knows, like, I obviously don't know Billy Slater, but I think in that sort of environment with Queensland and especially Queensland, they've sort of done it for years. New South Wales are starting to try to go that path where, they're bringing that culture and trying to bring all these old greats. But Queensland, it comes naturally to them. And I think you see where Bellamy had in New South Wales before and it didn't work out, because I think you have to have someone that's sort of been in that culture and is well respected. And that's where I come from, where it's like, you have to have a certain respect before. Billy Slater might not know, all the plays and that, say, a Wayne Bennett might know, but he'll get the respect and he'll get. So that's a massive part for the boys wanting to play for him, and especially at that level, really all you got to do, these guys are all professional players. So at the end of the day, all they've got to do is they've got the talent there, obviously. They just need someone to really be that motivator, I guess, and just that passion. That's what it'll be, is passion. And when you said coaching before, bro, that's what I missed is, for me, it's a passion, it's just something in me, like a fire, man. It's like a purpose that I was sort of meant to do. And yeah, that sort of comes back to that. So no, I like it. I like the move with Billy in there.
Yeah, I like it too, personally. What is the favorite part of your role being a coach?
My favorite role would be just seeing the kids, just seeing development of kids, in league and outside. I've had, since I've been here, man, I had one kid, man, who's getting picked on at school, and like his mum rang me crying one day, and she was sort of telling me about it. I had this kid for about 4 years, and one day she rang me, and then in his last year of primary school, he got made one of the captains of the school. And they made me this big plate, man, for me and my wife. They made this plate and they drew us on it before the team. And, and they presented it to us. His mum was crying, and that's what it's about for me, to be honest, man, is like, there's no value you can put on those things of changing lives, of just giving kids a confidence, like it's giving them a confidence that, like I say, sport is a vehicle for me, man. And it gives you a confidence, it gives you a discipline. And for me, it's just seeing kids become like, I guess, well, going from boys to men. So my favorite parts of coaching would be, definitely just seeing kids grow, seeing like the development. I always believe in raising a team. So seeing the kids that aren't as talented, sort of like, obviously, guys that have got talent, but I try to peg those guys back just so they don't get, because you can, with kids, man, you can get cocky and, kids want to score all the tries. I actually got my good kids, like my best players, like passing the ball, like to guys who hadn't scored. So creating that team environment and seeing that sort of thing. Yeah, for me, that's the biggest joy there, man, is just seeing all those sorts of things and them being a team, after the game, all hanging around, kicking a ball together and their jumpers still, and all those little things that we done when we were kids, man. That's what it's about, eh?
Yeah. That makes me smile just thinking of stuff like that from when I used to play like rugby league and stuff, like so good. But I remember when I had like certain coaches that always go on like certain ones, like, you guys are so frustrating to coach. Like, is there any like hard parts about coaching like that you struggle with? Like,
yeah, man, like definitely you have like, say, sometimes coming home from work, might have had a big day, tired. man, we're all human, eh? And so, some days I might be like, oh, I can't be bothered, or but I guess when I get there, I don't know, these kids can make me smile as well, man. That's another thing, Yeah, of course you get ones that test you. And again, I had a boy who frustrated me for years, man. I had them from about 5 years old. Bro, last year he became the heartbeat of our team, eh? Probably the smallest Aussie kid. But bro, he just to watch his growth and his heart, this kid wasn't scared, man. He'd sort of pile in. And like I said, we didn't have many island boys and all that out here, but bro, the team didn't lose for 3 years. We'd play all these bigger teams, but because we'd built a unit, bro, they were just like friends, man. You just see them on the field. I was just like playing like mates, and they'd always listen to me, which a lot of the parents sort of said, oh, you won't even listen at home, or and I used to get that, but I started treating them like how my coaches did, but back then we get a boot up the ass, or you know what I mean? They were allowed to do that back then. Whereas now I'll treat them like they're my kids, and that's sort of how I try to do it. Like my mum had a saying, like, they're not just our kids on a Saturday, they're our kids, and that rung true, man. Like the boys they coached right through, even the boys that ended up going on playing professional footy, man, they'd always stop in, knock on the door back in Mount Albert, and that made my parents stay every time they saw any of the kids go back. So yeah, for me, you definitely get tested, man. But off the top of my head, bro, probably just sometimes when I can't be bothered going to training, I guess, just like when I was playing,
What keeps you motivated to do what you do? Like, obviously you work out and stuff. What keeps you motivated to do that?
Bro, like I said, I think for me, it's just it's because I'm passionate about it. It's not like a job for me, even like what I'm doing at the moment. Like sometimes it feels bad to charge, because for me, it's just so natural. And I think the thing that keeps me motivated is what it done for me and my friends. It got us off the streets, because we had a lot of street gangs too, man. Like you're from Auckland too, bro. And especially when I was a bit younger, that's when youth gangs were really really prevalent, like in the communities, like around Auckland. And it was no different where we were. There were a lot of street gangs, but we had a shitload of talent as well, man. And especially in a lot of these a lot of the boys that probably didn't go on, they were so talented, but they didn't have that guidance. That was probably the thing with a lot of them, is they didn't have that person to believe in them, and they didn't have those people to say, you could do this, you could do that. It was just that culture back home, man, in Auckland too. Like it's that we want to be kicked back and be sort of like that, too humble sometimes. But that's one thing that taught me over here, man. Nobody really cares. At the end of the day, you got to do what's best for you, and that's all I try to do, I guess, is just guide these kids. And that's what motivates me. It's just, I just want them to sort of succeed in life in general, not really in sport, just in life.
Yeah, absolutely. What's some advice that you would give to kids that are going down the wrong path, that have the talent? Like, what's something you would say to them?
Man, I guess I'll just tell them to sort of like, that have got the talent in rugby league.
Yeah.
And I'll just tell them just to follow their dreams, I guess, and I'll just believe in themselves, just know that, if they really want to like achieve success in the rugby league, in their rugby league arena, just put in hard work, dedicate themselves. Again, it comes down to, it's hard for me to say in general, because you get a lot of, I've noticed that here in Melbourne, a lot of them, because it's not the number one sport as well, some coaches just do it just because, or their son's playing, so they're only worried really about their own son or their own daughter. And it starts at home as well, like hopefully parents that see that talent, or that they can nurture it as well. But yeah, for me, I just want to, I'll speak to the parents as well and say, just put your kids in the right pathways. And just teach them, I think, respect, discipline, values. Definitely respect's a big one over here. Like respect your elders, and just put in the hard work. You can't beat hard work, no matter how talented you are. But yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Could you tell us a little bit about your team, the Frankston Raiders? Like we've seen a bit about it on Instagram. Like how did that start, and how is it going right now?
Yeah, so Frankston Raiders, when I moved here in 2014, we're gonna go, there's a bigger club not far from us, KC Warriors, and my wife had lived here before we'd moved here, before I met her, and we were gonna pop out there, and so I was at the gym one day, and I was a Māori guy there, and he's like, "Oh, hey, bro, you play league?" He's like, "Oh, yeah." So I'll come down to this club. They sort of just started it, and because we lived in Frankston, it was heaps closer. So we went down, and then obviously there was no coach for the kids, and so that's sort of how I got involved in the first place. About 2-3 years in, there was no senior team there. So me and my best mate, who he was a very good player back home as well. He lives over here as well. Yeah, we started taking a women's team. Like there was a ladies team, but we had about 5-6 guys that just kept coming down to training, and then the women's team fell apart, and then we just put together this men's team, and it was sort of, we got spanked, man. I think we won 2 games that year, and man, it was, but then the next year we made the semi-finals, and for the next 2 years in a row. So yeah, we sort of just, again, we built it on our culture, that because me and him grew up in Mount Albert Rugby League as well. We built a lot of it just on our culture back home. Like, would feed the opposition team after the games, and little things like that, get the boys to buy in, and and it just created this culture around Melbourne in general. Like we'd go to other clubs the next year, and they're all putting on a feed saying, "Oh, you guys started this, so we're gonna do it now," and things like that. So it was awesome. So yeah, and then I had the kids, and then we had a couple of teams. Then the next year it grew again. So it is just growing. It's growing and growing now. So which is really good. I've got a really good committee there at the moment, down at the Raiders. Everybody's playing a really good role. I had last year off because I was doing a lot of study, and I was just really busy trying to put together what I'm doing now. But I definitely still hold them close. A lot of them still come over, and a lot of the kids still train with me, and a lot of our good friends are still there. So yeah, it was just building a family and building a community, and that's what they've done, and that's what we sort of helped create. So something I'm really proud of as well.
Yeah,
that's so what you were talking about, a few players that you played with back in the day, making NRL. Is there any of those that are big names or names that we would know?
Yeah, bro. Yeah. So, we had Sia Soliola. So my dad coached Sia right through the grades. Him and my brother were really good friends. So we were in primary school and all that together. We had Steve Marai. So Steve, me and him went to intermediate, high school. We all grew up, man. Our little pocket of, Connor, I think, how little, communities like that. Honestly, man, we're on each other's lawns pretty much every week. And then had my first cousin who we looked up to, man, when I was young, David Solomona. So Dave used to play, I've had a few chats with Dave because he works for the NRL now at the moment, doing development, so development officer. So I've had a few yarns with him just in regards to what I'm doing as well, just around different things. And then we had Sonny, so Sonny Bull, and his older brother and myself we're really good friends right through. Sonny and my brother were really good friends right through. So yeah, pretty much, man, tackling each other up the school, up the park, just all the boys in our neighborhood. And then we had a lot of boys too that could have went on, man, could have carried on themselves, but very proud. We always tell those 3 boys, man, still your neighborhood kids as well, which that's a big thing where we're from. Even whether you're a sports arena, a lot of boys too, man, have become agents, got a couple of player agents, businessmen, but all still the same grounded. And that comes down to our upbringing, I think. But yeah, those are definitely those 3, man, whole neighborhood is proud of them then, proud of them still, so.
Yeah.
Did you ever take any shots from Steve Matto?
Bro, plenty, bro. We got him. So when I was at intermediate, intermediate is Form 1. Bro, we got him from primary. So he was a year younger. He was still at primary school. He was standard 4, and we pulled him up to our intermediate, come play for us in a couple of tournaments. He was that good, bro. He was a hitter from. We used to go to games, watch him when he was playing barter card. We'd just watch him off the kickoff. I'd kick it off, man. He'd sprint out of the line, smash the props off the kickoff. Hey, crazy, bro. You just see everyone watch him just rush out at the crazy suicide, bro. But he just had that natural power.
Yeah. So as you have said on Instagram, all coaches have different philosophies. What would you say your philosophy is as a coach? Your main one?
Yeah, my main philosophy for myself, man, would be just to listen. So listen to the kids as well. this is like, I'm going into my kids coaching hat, even when it comes to the adults though, but I think is listen to your players. You know, a lot of coaches, as you said before, they're just like, oh, go do this, go do that. You have to know how to get the best out of each player. And a lot of the times, especially when it comes again to the Island boys back home, you know, they react differently, whether it was the NRL or whether it's club footy. You have to be able to respect your players, understand their backgrounds, you know what's happening at home. Like sometimes you're quick to snap at these players, but man, they could come from where, you know, their mum and dad have just separated, or, you know, they might not have a dad around. And so, you know, mum's not even coming home. I've had players like these scenarios where, you know, even kids where like their grandmas had to come get them a day later and they've been home by themselves because the mother hadn't come home, and things like that, man. So really it's just like, I try to listen to them first. I try to, you know, I guess I feel an energy. I get an energy of some certain people, and the kids included. So like, sometimes I might just have to ask a question or ask about school. Some of them don't even get asked, like, you know, go home and already their parents are yelling at them rather than sort of just saying, oh, how was your day? Or, you know what I mean? Like, so for me, my philosophy, my coaching style and philosophy would be firstly, just being a mentor, like trying to understand the kids first. And I find that, yeah, once they respect me and once they trust me, like trust is a big one as well, then I can start teaching them footy, and they listen to me, because I believe, like, yeah, I can, like, I've always been that rugby league nerd, man, since I was a kid. You know, I was that rugby league running, pick, walk, had a ball in my hand all the time. And, you know, for me, I watch games with a different perspective as well. Like, I don't know if you guys are the same, man, but you know, you might see a try, but I'm like looking 3-4 plays back to what set up that try, you know, the decoy that was run, and little things like that. So I involve that into my coaching style as well. Like, some guys have got some brilliant runners. Sometimes all they need to add is just holding the ball with two hands. It's always the smallest things, just to sort of offer them an option, you know, little things like that. So I just try to tweak their games, nothing crazy. For a lot of the kids, it's really just a small thing. You don't want to overcomplicate it as well. Like, you just want them to play their natural flair, natural style, but try to give them something that, you know, will sort of make a big difference in their game and for the team in general. So
yeah, absolutely. Do you watch any other sports apart from NRL? And if so, what's your favorite team?
I love NBA, bro. I love the NBA. So I probably watch more NBA these days. Probably not then the NRL, but man, I love the NBA, and wherever LeBron James is, bro, I'm there, man.
Not one of those guys.
I'm that guy, bro. I'm that guy. I have so many arguments with these what's that guy's, Mark Jordan? Some of his supporters, bro. But yeah, nah. So yeah, I love my ball.
That's it.
Yeah, so we've seen you've done a lot of like mindset coaching, and that's like your thing at the moment. How did that all come about, and how, like, do you have any tips or tricks that you have, like simple ones that people can do to change their mindset?
Yeah, bro. Man, it came about through experience. So when we said it came to Melbourne, again, man, we went through a hard time, again, through some of my own, like, you know, just going out, you know, like, you know, it is, man. Sometimes I was just like out the door, just how it was sort of for a period there. And, you know, when I nearly lost my relationship and lost things, you know what I mean? Bro, that's what we ended up here. And I sort of had to like grow up and own shit. Like, I couldn't run anymore. So I went through a lot of self-development and, you know, done a few courses. This was like, and it's ongoing, man. So this was a few years ago. And now I've got a saying, man, and I live by it every day. It's just every day I want to wake up and be a little bit better than yesterday. So no matter how good I was yesterday, today the goal will be just to be that little bit better again, you know, and I live by that. Like, you have to like want it as well. So it's all good to say, oh, I'm going to change, you know, like that's how it always was. You know, you say, oh, I won't do it again. Oh, no, I'm not going to go out again. Sorry. And bro, you say it 100 times, but then 100 times you're reneging and you're going back. So for me, it's just, you have to like own shit that you've done. You have to take ownership, be responsible for, you know, yeah, I made a mistake, and just take ownership for that. But for me, it's easy. There's a few simple things, man. It's just be grateful. So gratitude plays a massive part, man. Like, be grateful for just for the day, grateful for waking up. You know, some people always want more, like, you know, a lot of people want, like, you know, they want to make the NRL, or they, you know, they want this and want that, but just be grateful for having your parents there rather than sort of like, oh, mum, I want this, or that's what I teach my kids as well. It's a big part, man. And what I do is I teach them to be like, I won't play them if they're like, you know, they might have been little shits, or then, and I teach them a lesson, they'll, like, you know, because they really want to play, but they learn from it. So be grateful, be appreciative. Yeah, man, and just be thankful. I think just be thankful for everything you have, you know, like when it comes to mindset, even in, you know, sport, like that's a big part too, is how to be mentally strong when you're going into a game. You know, some kids might be a bit scared at the start of a game, or little things might, you know, when you see the big kid when you're a kid, I just tell one of my biggest hitters, put that shot on that boy. Like, that's what we used to get told, you know, hit their biggest player. And honestly, that's what happens even here, man. And then you just see the confidence in the boys, eh? So, yeah, I guess with the mindset, man, it plays a massive role in my life in general. And that's a big role in my coaching as well, is just having the right mindset, going into things prepared, and yeah, just being grateful.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, that is all the time we have today. Thank you very much for coming on, Leighton. We truly appreciate it. We learned a lot about you. And yeah, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, boys. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
No
it was
worries.
very good. Cheers, thanks.
Thanks, bro. Thanks, man.